Before sleep settles fully into the body, imagine a coastline where the land exhales gently into the sea. The air is warm, neither heavy nor sharp, carrying salt from the Mediterranean and the faint, dry sweetness of sun-baked stone. Night has not yet arrived, but the light has softened, spreading evenly across columns and courtyards. This is Alexandria, and within it, a place built not for noise or haste, but for memory, patience, and the slow accumulation of human thought. The Library of Alexandria rests within the royal quarter, surrounded by gardens laid out with careful symmetry. Stone pathways trace calm geometric patterns beneath bare feet and sandals. Low fountains murmur quietly, their water never rushing, only repeating the same gentle motion again and again. Palm leaves barely move. The world here seems to understand that speed is unnecessary. Knowledge does not need to run. The architecture of the library is expansive yet restrained. Pale limestone walls reflect light softly, never blinding, never dull. Columns rise in long, measured rows, their capitals simple, elegant, unburdened by excess ornament. Every line feels deliberate, as though the building itself is thinking carefully about its own shape. Roofs are high, allowing heat to lift upward and away, leaving the lower spaces cool and still. Shadows stretch across floors in wide, slow arcs, marking time more gently than any clock. As one moves deeper inside, the sounds of the city fade completely. The distant calls from the harbor dissolve into silence. Even footsteps seem to lose their weight here, absorbed by smooth stone and woven mats. The air grows drier, carrying a distinctive scent: papyrus, ink, dust, and age. It is a soft smell, not unpleasant, not sharp. It lingers like a memory that has been handled carefully for centuries. Papyrus scrolls rest in wooden shelves lining the walls, stacked horizontally, each one bound and labeled with quiet precision. Their presence is overwhelming, not in volume alone, but in implication. Each scroll holds a voice from another time, another place, another mind. Together they form a kind of breathing organism, expanding slowly as ships arrive, contracts are copied, texts are translated, ideas preserved. Nothing here shouts. Everything waits. Light enters the library through carefully positioned openings near the ceiling. Sunlight filters down in thin, pale ribbons, never touching the scrolls directly, always diffused, always respectful. The brightness shifts gradually throughout the day, and no one rushes to follow it. Time inside the library does not press forward. It pools and settles. The floors are cool beneath bare feet. Stone tiles are worn smooth by generations of careful movement. Each step seems to echo faintly, then vanish, as if the building itself chooses to forget the sound immediately. Silence here is not emptiness. It is a presence. It wraps around the body, encouraging slower breathing, longer pauses, softer thoughts. Rooms branch outward from central halls, each devoted to a different domain of understanding. Mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, poetry, law, geography. The boundaries between them are architectural, but never rigid. Knowledge flows easily from one space to another, just as ideas do. Corridors are wide, allowing the mind to wander while the body moves unhurriedly forward. In one chamber, shelves hold star charts and astronomical treatises. The ceiling above is painted a deep, quiet blue, scattered with faint, careful points of light. Here, the universe is mapped not with urgency, but with reverence. The texts speak of planetary motion, eclipses, the slow turning of the heavens. Reading them feels like watching the night sky itself, steady and patient, never rushed. In another space, medical texts rest in orderly rows. The scent of dried herbs sometimes drifts faintly from nearby rooms where scholars once studied anatomy and healing. These scrolls contain careful observations of the human body, descriptions of balance and imbalance, of health as harmony. The words move slowly, deliberately, as if they understand that the body heals best when given time. Further on, poetry fills the air with an almost imperceptible softness. Even without being read aloud, these scrolls seem to alter the atmosphere. The rhythm of language, preserved in ink, gives the room a different weight. Here, thoughts of love, loss, longing, and beauty sleep quietly, waiting for eyes that move gently across lines written long ago. The library does not overwhelm through grandeur alone. It calms through consistency. The repeated pattern of shelves and columns creates a visual rhythm that soothes the mind. Nothing surprises, nothing startles. The building teaches stillness simply by existing. Occasionally, a breeze passes through open courtyards, stirring the edges of hanging curtains. Linen brushes softly against stone. The movement is subtle, barely noticeable, yet comforting. The air refreshes itself without effort, carrying away heat and returning coolness. Even the climate here feels designed to support thought without strain. The smell of papyrus grows stronger in the deeper archives. It is layered, the dry vegetal note of reeds, the faint metallic trace of ink, the dust of time settled into fibers. Breathing it in feels like breathing history itself. The scent is grounding, anchoring the mind firmly in the present while surrounded by the past. Scrolls are stored not randomly, but according to careful systems. Knowledge is not allowed to tangle itself into confusion. Each text belongs somewhere, and its place is remembered. This order brings a quiet reassurance. Nothing important is lost here. Everything has been given a home. Silence stretches across the halls, but it is never oppressive. It is the kind of silence that invites rest. Thoughts slow down naturally, as if responding to a deeper rhythm. There is no need to hurry from one idea to the next. Understanding is allowed to arrive gently, on its own schedule. The walls themselves seem to absorb intention. They have listened to centuries of quiet study, of careful copying, of minds turning inward. Stone remembers. And here, it remembers calm. Beyond the main halls, there are smaller rooms with lower ceilings, designed for focused attention. The light is dimmer, the air cooler. These spaces feel like cocoons for thought. Sitting here, the world outside feels distant and unimportant. Only the steady presence of knowledge remains. The library also contains translation rooms, where texts from distant cultures were once transformed into Greek. Languages overlap here like soft layers of sound, now long faded. The idea of translation itself lingers in the air. The belief that understanding can cross boundaries, that meaning can survive movement. This belief rests quietly, without needing to prove itself. In the central courtyard, stone benches circle a simple garden. Low plants grow in careful arrangements, their leaves thick and resilient. The earth smells warm and clean. This space offers rest not just for the body, but for the eyes. Green interrupts stone. Life interrupts architecture. The balance feels intentional, necessary. Looking upward, the sky appears framed by columns, a rectangle of slow-moving clouds. The passage of time is visible here, but gentle. No one measures it. No one counts it. It passes, and that is enough. The knowledge housed within the Library of Alexandria is vast, but it does not press down with its weight. Instead, it lifts like a calm tide. The understanding that so much has been thought, written, and preserved creates not anxiety, but relief. You do not need to know everything. You only need to know that it exists. Maps within the library describe distant lands, deserts, mountains, rivers winding patiently toward unseen seas. Reading them feels like traveling without moving, like dreaming with open eyes. The imagination stretches slowly, comfortably, never strained. Mathematical texts unfold proofs step by careful step. There is no rush to arrive at the conclusion. The process itself is the point. Each line follows naturally from the last, like breathing. Even complexity feels gentle when approached this way. The library at night is even quieter. Oil lamps cast small pools of amber light, trembling slightly, but never flickering wildly. Shadows deepen between shelves, softening edges. The world narrows to warm light, dark stone, and the silent companionship of stored thought. The smell of oil mixes faintly with papyrus, creating a richer, warmer atmosphere. Outside, the city sleeps or murmurs softly, but inside, time feels suspended. The library becomes a shelter, not just for texts, but for minds seeking rest. Even unread, the scrolls offer comfort. They stand as evidence that thought can be preserved, that ideas can outlast noise. As hours pass, the building cools further. Stone releases the heat of the day slowly, evenly. The air grows heavier, encouraging stillness. Breathing deepens. The body relaxes in response, as if the architecture itself is guiding it toward rest. The Library of Alexandria is not only a place of learning, it is a place of trust. Trust that knowledge matters. Trust that patience yields understanding. Trust that silence is not emptiness, but space. Imagining this place now, the mind begins to mirror its qualities. Thoughts line themselves up neatly, like scrolls returning to shelves. Unnecessary worries loosen and fade. What remains is a sense of quiet continuity, of being part of a long, slow story that does not demand urgency. The sea continues its steady rhythm beyond the walls. Waves arrive, pause, and withdraw. Inside, the library remains unchanged, holding its calm posture against the movement of the world. As sleep approaches, the image of the library softens. Columns blur into gentle shapes. The smell of papyrus fades into a warm, neutral comfort. Silence deepens into rest. Knowledge sleeps here, and in sleeping, it waits. The body, following the same rhythm, is free to rest as well.